Where'd Stephanie go? Okay, here she comes. Yes, I know you are. I saw. All right. But I want to go down the list and just introduce everyone. If you don't know who they are, if I may. Running for fiscal officer, Stephanie Johnson. Yep, right here. Township trustee, Robert Kurtz. Carl Hill. Keith Sexton. Tyler Ravis, right? Kenneth Baughman, we all know Ken. Joe Baxter, and fiscal officer, Mr. Paul Mizell. And it's a great pleasure to have each and every one of you guys here this evening. Our format for tonight is we're going to be going down and asking questions. They'll each answer the same question. And we're going to go down the list. Stephanie will be first. Then next time we do a fiscal question, then Paul will be first. Then we'll start with Bob on the township trustees. And next question will be Carl will go first. Then we'll just work our way around. So let's try to be fair. And you got, oh, by the way, she can't speak for the next hour and 43 minutes. She has 2 minutes. And we have the timer here. We have the big hook. No, we don't. I'm just teasing. So, Stephanie, if you would, please.
Okay, thank you. I actually love this question. I know it's been said that the fiscal officer just pays a handful of bills and takes some notes. But the fiscal officer really is responsible, and I don't know if you can hear me. The fiscal officer really is responsible for a very wide range of things in relationship to the township. A little bit of everything. And so I actually made a little list that the fiscal officer is responsible for accounting, payroll, human resources, compliance, accounts payable, clerical, accounts receivable, inventory, workers' compensation, office managing, insurance claims and renewals, administrating, finance directing, they're the treasurer, retirement manager, unemployment, benefits manager, tax prep, records filer. They attend meetings and take all the reportings and do the minutes from these meetings. I have taken public records training, ethics training, and I have to file a variety of reports on a regular basis. There's bi-weekly reports, quarterly reports, monthly reports that all need to be done for the state of Ohio and for the federal government. The fiscal officer is the one that certifies every payment. The fiscal officer also needs to know a little bit of legal, a little bit of engineering, political, banking, investing. You have to be proficient in Microsoft Office, especially Word and Excel. Also proficient in Google Docs and Drive. Last week I was doing a pooled collateral attestation. A few days ago I was doing random drug testing. And the past several days I've been pulling records for the 2021 audit that is mandatory by the state that is happening right now. And because the state of the records that they're in, it's taken me days to comb through these records to find the proper ones for 2020.
Okay. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Stephanie. And she wants a raise. Is that what comes after all that? Okay. Paul Mizell, come on right up, and I'll read you the same question if I may. What do you believe are the duties and responsibilities of the fiscal officer in general terms? Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. The fiscal officer is responsible for all the accounting, all the financial reporting and compliance, many collateral administrative duties, workers' compensation and benefits, and I've had personal experience in all those things, and some of the HR stuff. But also, it's very important for the fiscal officer to communicate with the trustees and with the community as to the fiscal state of the township. You know, transparency about where money is being spent and how much money we have, and to be able to communicate that clearly and concisely so that you don't need an accounting degree to understand it. Good advice sometimes during the meeting. And, you know, I think that's an important thing that needs to be focused on that has been somewhat lacking in the past. And, you know, and maintaining good records. And we know that that's been a problem because we've read it in the paper. So, but those are the primary focuses, basically being a good businessman for the township.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. And Lord knows if it's in the photo journal, you know it's correct, right? Right, Candy? It's great to have Candy here with us this evening also. Okay, we're going to go right on to start with Mr. Kurtz. First question up for you, Bob. What is your vision for the township in the next 3 to 5 years? What is your vision? If you please come up to the microphone, Bob, please.
Thank you. Well, first off, I would have to say that probably my first vision for Vermilion Township over the next 3 years is for the township to get back to an even keel. We need to start taking care of our residents. We need to start doing the job that we're elected to do. We need to start doing it properly. The next thing we have to look at is growth is coming, folks. Whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, growth is going to come. And what we do now and over the next 3 years is greatly going to have an impact on how that growth occurs. You know, we don't want to be a community that growth overtakes us and we're stuck trying to deal with the consequences like some other communities around us have had to deal with. You know, because when growth occurs, sometimes it happens quickly, and so we need to make sure we're ready for it. One of the first things I would do would be to put together a steering committee and take another look at the township's comprehensive plan, which is a plan that's put together by a group of residents working together with the township officials to develop a plan of how we want to see Vermilion Township grow, where growth should occur, how growth should occur. This way, when people come before us with their ideas and goals for development, we have a plan that we can refer to that has been put together by the residents so that we're able to control it. Like I said, growth is going to come. We just got to be ready for it. We got to make sure our infrastructure is there, and then we're capable of handling it. Okay. That's what I see for the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Thank you. Next. Carl, come on up. And I'll read the question again to you as you walk up here. What is your vision for the township in the next 3 to 5 years? Go ahead.
Well, like Bob said, I expect this township to grow. We've been working tirelessly on trying to get the Brown property going forward. That's going to benefit both Vermilion, Huron, and Vermilion Township. They're going to bring a lot of residents in. There's going to be a lot of upgrades done. We've also got Redwood coming in with a new subdivision. So there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, Bob hit it on the nose. There's going to be a lot of people coming to Vermilion Township. And we have to have a plan together to handle all this. There's going to be a lot of revenue coming, which benefits everybody. So I'd like to see this go forward with the Brown property. They've already sold some potential sites and stuff. Right now, as I understand it, the water is an issue, the water getting to them because of the pipeline. So we're going to try to overcome that and do what we can to get that problem behind us, kind of wash it down the ditch if you want to call it. But I think it's going to be very good for the township, and I'm 100% behind that. We need to get this done. And, you know, I know we've got some issues going on. We've got people that are working on the issues, and I'm one of them. I'm pushing for it extremely hard. I want to see this done. We need it.
Okay. Thank you, Carl. Keith, you're next, and I'm going to go with you. I'll be right back. You go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
So currently we don't have a plan in place. We have all these new projects coming right at us. we're approving projects, but we still don't have a plan. We don't have a plan for Route 60, which is our largest commercial corridor and commercial property that we have. We have to have a plan. So that plan is to get together with, my sentiments exactly, Bob, is to get together with a group of volunteer community members. And we have such an untapped talent in our community. I'm sure that we could put together some of the best of the best that have knowledge with this. And we can find the right fit on Route 60, what fits for us. We just don't want any old commercial property or commercial store that just doesn't work, because we can't support that as a community. So ultimately, we have to come together as a community, and we have to understand, and we as trustees have to listen to your concerns and what your wants and what your needs are on that Route 60 corridor. Likewise with the housing, we have to understand what our infrastructure currently can withstand. We have no idea what that currently can stand. We have to work with the county engineer to find out.
Okay, question is, what is your vision for the township in the next 3 to 5 years?
So my vision for the township in the next 3 to 5 years is essentially bringing the voice back to the people. Right? I can't tell you how many doors I've walked up to and have heard people address their concerns about how they feel like that they cannot come to a trustee meeting because they feel like that they will not be heard or taken seriously. As someone of 24 years old, I've always wanted to, be active in my community, and I've heard of people talking about it but never doing it. And one of the things I gotta say when attending one of my first meetings, the closest person to my age was easily in like their late 30s. And to me, being the next generation, that was a concern. And for me, I want to find a way to essentially extend community outreach in a sense. So I would like to be able to reach out to people of all different ages, whether if you are 18, 26, or 37, it doesn't matter. I want to get the people involved, and I have been performing research for one of my classes at Ohio University, looking for effective ways to essentially promote this distribution of information and again, getting people involved. So that's what I would like for the township, is bringing it back to we the people, because the moment this country goes down the drain is when we let it. And that's what I would like for the township.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I like the question.
Ken, you got the question? Go ahead, Ken.
All right, first things first. If you're going to bring anything to Vermilion, you've got to have your house in order. It's if you were to go buy a new house and you went and the next door neighbors are arguing and screaming and they've got a big mess, you probably wouldn't buy that house next door. First thing we got to do is come together, get back to community. I need to know your first name, you need to know my first name. You need to feel that you can call me any time of the day and I can call you any time of the day, because no one trustee is going to solve your problems. I'll tell you that right now. All 3 trustees are not going to solve your problem. All of us working together cohesively will solve the problems. On growth in industry and things like that, I think the first thing we need to do is focus on what we do have. We don't need a 4th gas station. We have 3. We don't need a 4th one. We need something new, something different. Someplace where you can have a sit-down family meal with your kids would be nice. So if we're going to bring in new businesses, let's bring in something that we need, not something that we have, not somebody doing something better. I honestly believe that we need to support the businesses that we have now, but we should also keep our small town charm. And on the Redwood thing, they're trying to get rid of the commercial zoning on 60. Totally against it. Totally against it. We only have limited space for commercial opportunities, and I think that getting rid of that chunk of property on 60 that's commercial is a big mistake. So if you ever ask me where I am on Redwood, you just found out. If you've got any questions, I'm going to hang around after the meeting. I'd be happy to answer, and now I'm going to get off the stage so we can get out of here at a decent hour.
All right. Thank you, Ken. All right, Joe, you're up, my friend.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Joe Baxter. I'm running for trustee. My plan, my vision for growth for the next 3 to 5 years technology is on the forefront. AI, there's all kinds of opportunity. And I feel like those are more industry that we need to bring to our community. I don't feel like, mass production of things. Housing, we definitely need to have some housing. But in accordance with that, we also need to have some kind of storm sewer, sanitary sewer, which we don't really have those things. So we can't really provide until we get that together. And we need to put a plan. That way, everything, as it comes down the pipe, it's not nobody thought about this, or we didn't understand, or I've done concrete construction my whole entire life. I have watched every city around us explode. If you go to Avon, it's now a nightmare to drive around out there. I don't want to see that for us. I enjoy rural America. I have a farm. I love it. I love this town, and I want to see it stay that way. But we also have to be able to provide for our kids. What are they going to do? We need technology. We need things like that to come in so we can grow at a slower rate and not an expanded, rapid rate as to where we can't control things. And again, I feel like being able to put a plan together, talking to the members of the community, the actual members of the community, because when you ask questions, not everyone's going to feel the same way. I didn't have a problem with Fireland Chevrolet going in, but all of a sudden I like to watch the stars, and at night I have light pollution. I can't see that kind of stuff. Those are things I don't think anybody ever really genuinely thought about, and I know I didn't until I started getting into astronomy.
Okay.
So it's
Okay, Joe, I'm sorry to cut you off here. I don't want to shoot you out here, but we got to keep things moving. Thank you, Joe. Okay, we're going right back to the beginning, and we're going to start with Paul down here, okay, with his next fiscal question. What do you think needs to be improved in the township, and how do you think you can assist the trustees in making those improvements?
Thanks for the question. I've been attending township meetings for just a few months, but I've observed a couple things. One is that most of the information that comes out of the township comes out once a month in a photojournal article. And it accurately reports what goes on at the meeting, but there's a lot of information that's not reported there. So I think we need to increase our transparency and put out a lot of the routine information about spending, about priorities, about future plans, publish an agenda in advance, and I think some emphasis on that would be good. The second thing I think is that I've observed the trustees asking for information and for financial information at the meeting and not being able to get it immediately, and for things being delayed because that wasn't available. And I think being well prepared and being able to answer questions on the spot would be a big improvement.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Stephanie, you're up. Same question. What do you think needs to be improved in the township, and how do you think you can assist the trustees in making those improvements?
Well, as far as the fiscal officer is concerned, an improvement that I am working on making is getting all of these records in check. The records have been a mess, and it is an ongoing process to get these records in order. As far as working with the trustees, one of the challenges that I have faced is having the trustees follow the rules and the laws. I am making sure that everyone follows the rules and the laws. And as far as with financial documents, that is one thing that is provided at every meeting for all of the trustees. If there's ever been a question, I've certainly answered it. There's never been a question that I haven't been able to answer as far as financial documents. As far as transparency goes, I would like to improve upon that. I'm the one that has made sure everyone knows that everything is public record that happens in the township. And we've gotten a little pushback from some of the trustees not wanting to give public records. And so I've made sure everyone is aware, everything is public. If anyone asks for those public records, they need to be made available. Also, I'm sorry, I lost it. With the transparency, previously minutes were not online. We were told that they were only putting up the most recent minutes. I have made sure that all of the minutes that are available are online. Minutes are one record that is for always and forever. So now there are minutes for every meeting online that have been available. As soon as they are approved by the trustees, I make sure they go online. So there's definitely more that you can see. And also, okay.
Also, we're gonna have to.
Hold it, we're gonna have to hold also.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I want to be able to put more financial documents online, the budget and things for people to be able to
Okay.
see, more transparency.
All right, thank you for finishing that. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, Carl, you're up. We're gonna start with you first now. What three things would you accomplish or attempt to accomplish in the first 30 days as a trustee? What three things? If you can go with one or two or something, you have 2 minutes. Okay?
All right, well, like.
Most important, do
The
it.
most important thing is, as I brought up before, I think that the whole township area is going to be benefited from the Brown, and I don't want to keep beating this to death, but it's such a wonderful idea, and we need that space out there. It's going to be secluded behind the thing to start with. It's going to put a lot of money into the school system. It's going to put a lot of money into the retail shops in Vermilion and Huron. I think it's going to be a wonderful idea. I'd like to get that going. The Redwood situation, yeah, we're going to lose some commercial areas, but it's better, in my opinion, than to put a store up like they did over on 58. They put the Super Kmart up. It lasted, 5 years, and then it closed. We don't want that. We don't want a big empty store, you know. So if you change it to, you're getting more tax income. You got more people spending stuff in the stores in the town and in the township. So I understand we only have so much commercial property, but we got to make the best use of it as we can. So that's where I stand on that.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thank you. Keith, you're up. What 2 or 3 things or one thing, what's most important to you, Keith? Go ahead.
I think the most important is to listen to the people, which we're going to get out and find out, like it or not, changes Mr. Ravis. But if we can collectively get together, we need to put more people's involvement. I mean, I would come up with a great idea. Great. I would like to put together, again, a committee that similar to a planning commission, so that we have a plan in place. I'd like to find out what our infrastructure actually what the capacity is of each individual neighborhood or each individual road. I'd like to take a look at the roads. That's a huge importance to our township. So those are the 3 things that I'd like to see. Okay, thanks. Tyler, you're up.
What 3 things would you accomplish in the first 30 days as a trustee? Most important. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I find the most important is, being new, to the subject, is I think it would be amazing to be able to job shadow people of all different departments, and learn what they're about. So then that way I can have a better understanding of how their operation works, and in hopes that it will help me best assess their needs, so that, when coming to vote and giving them the resources that they need, I can make essentially make a good decision about that. Another thing that I would like to bring to the township is really just kind of, I'd say, yes, is like just really, again, I want to say that forming those relationships with those departments, because we're all talking about technology and all that, and that's really cool, but it actually reminded me of a quote from a famous person, you may know him, Steve Jobs, right? He was essentially trying to answer the question, how do you create a product that sells over $1 billion worth of revenue? And the reason why he was saying this is because a lot of people, I'm not sure, I believe it's JavaScript, they had the technology, but they didn't have the experience. So in this metaphorical sense, I would like to start focusing on the experience, as in how the overall operation works, by forming great relationships with those who I'll be working with, so then that way we can work as a cohesive group and work our way to that technology. So that's one of the main visions that I have to accomplish in the first month of being trustee.
Okay, thank you. Ken, and I already know the question.
The question, I'm good.
Go ahead.
Well, let's clarify something. The first 30 days is not January 1st. If you elect me and I get elected on November 7th, my job starts on November 8th. I'll put together a plan. The first thing I'm going to do is change the meeting rules. The second thing I'm going to do is make sure that we have 2 meetings a month, because sometimes you can't make that meeting that day on that month, and you can't wait another 30 days to come to see us in a meeting and address your concerns. So 2 meetings a month. And the trustees get a salary so they can show up 2 meetings a month. The most important thing we need to do is get our house in order, and we've all touched on it, and it's the elephant in the room. But I think that once we do, we can do great things. And we're never going to get a Walmart. We're never going to get a big factory. But we can work together to get the things we need. We can work together to be a community and still keep our small town charm. Because folks, Vermilion Township, this is paradise. Go halfway around the world, it's not like it here. I am blessed to live in this town, and I would truly be blessed to get your vote and become a trustee. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Joe, you're up.
One of the first things I would do is I would figure out what my biggest fires are. What needs addressed first, and that's what I'm going to go after. And then I'm going to make sure that the people of the township are also confident in their leaders that they have chosen. That's going to be my second thing that I'm going to do. The third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on a plan, obviously, for growth of the community and start in that direction. Honestly, folks, I feel like this is 10 years too late. Like, we've been sitting, waiting idly, and it's something that needs to be done ASAP in order for all of us to comfortably survive and stay in our town and love it. And provide for our kids. I mean, we have futures. And I can tell you my kids aren't farming, so, we got to have some other things that they're going to be involved in. That's it.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, we're going to go back to Stephanie. And, wait a minute. No. Oh, Bob, I gotta go. No, we didn't want to hear from Bob. Yeah, I forgot we gotta go back. All right, Bob, go ahead. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Too complicated.
So 3 things in the first 30 days. First off, 30 days is not long enough. Time goes by quick when you have this kind of responsibilities. The first thing that I would do, though, my goal would be, as we all that stay attentive to the township, is to kind of smooth the turmoil that surrounds the township government. Things need to work smoother. We need to work together, and these meetings need to be a little more professional. The second thing that I would do would be, as I touched upon already, we need to put together a steering committee to look at our comprehensive plan. So I would set up a meeting with Erie County Regional Planning, because they're the ones that would kind of help oversee this, and we would get that ball rolling. And then the third thing that I would want to accomplish in my first 30 days is to sit down with our departments. Sit down with our fire department, find out what kind of needs they have, what kind of problems they're going through. See what their 3-year goals are, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, and also meet with our road department. See what their needs and problems are I know that there's work in this township that our road department can handle. We need to prioritize those and start getting them done. So I will work with our road department to make sure these things are accomplished. That's my first 30 days.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, very good. Thank you all. So now we're going to go back to Stephanie. And I think everyone's, in one shape, form, or another, has touched on working with the trustees, and the trustees working with the financial people. Okay, so the third question coming to you and Paul is, what do you believe the interaction and relationship with the Board of Trustees should be? And how do you hope to make that happen? You're up, Stephanie. Yes, everyone's touched on that in one shape or form or another. Go ahead.
Okay, so what the relationship should be?
Yep.
Okay.
Your interaction and your relationship with them?
Okay, so the fiscal officer is designed purposefully to be independent and separate from the trustees. It's done that way on purpose from Ohio Revised Code. So the fiscal officer cannot be pressured or strong-armed into doing anything that the fiscal officer does not feel is appropriate, financially sound, or fiscally responsible. Therefore, it's very important that we all, of course, work together, but remember that we are truly equals.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. You're fine. You're fine. You're the boss. Don't just eat.
The mandatory 2-year audit is going on right now, and I've been working very hard with the 2-year audit, so I'm sorry.
Okay, you're fine. Thank you. Okay, Paul, you're up. Thank you, Stephanie. What do you believe the interaction and the relationship should be with the Board of Trustees?
I've had roles advising a board of managers for most of the last 3 decades. There's a portion of it that's very important, but it's usually the smaller portion, is compliance. Sometimes you have to tell people, hey, you cannot do this, or you cannot do that, or you must do this, or you must do that. That's very important, and you can't forget about it. But much the larger portion of the job is providing good advice, saying, here, we have money to do this, we don't have the money to do that. Here is a sound plan to approach this goal or that goal that you may have. And so that's the most important part of the relationship, is to have some professional trust that you can give good advice and that they will understand and accept good advice.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, now we're going to go to Keith. Okay, and I want everyone to understand, these questions, we went to people in other townships and other areas that do these jobs, and these questions came from them. Financial, the fiscal questions also. Cliff German, trust me, did not make any questions up, nor did Bill, all right? But we went to people that are familiar with these types of positions, and I said, well, if you were doing this, what kind of questions would you want to ask? So that's how we came up with it. So don't shoot the messenger, okay? All right, especially in this question. Climate change and the future development within the township requires us to plan ahead. You mentioned planning ahead, I think, every other word so far tonight.
We do.
Yes, and what are your thoughts concerning that, Keith? Go ahead.
I've seen, so there is climate change, whether we like it or not. I've seen 5 generational rainstorms in my lifetime. Generational rainstorms. And there is climate change, and we're going to see more and more of it. So one of the things that I would probably promote is actually bring back our recycling. You know, as a township, we don't have any recycle whatsoever in this township. So it's something that we could bring back to prevent any type of climate change. All right?
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Tyler, you're up. What are your thoughts concerning climate change and what future plans we need to think about that?
We're actually coming out of so, as you mentioned, climate change, warming, this is the natural process, of course, of the world. However, the way that we go about using our resources definitely determines the rate at which global warming is expedited. So, one of the things I would really like to one of the things I would really like to do is, actually kind of reminds me of my Dominican fiance, is I think, yes, we could create those, we could have recyclable, dumpster days and whatnot, but I think what would be really great is to really spread awareness about reusing things that you're about to throw away. So for instance, like, just as a small example, I had this Windex bottle that I finished, and instead of throwing away, I said, hey, I think that this would be really great to mist my plants with. So instead, I cleaned it out, I repurposed it, and now I get to use it for my plants. I'm a huge, I have a green thumb. But yeah, I mean, and I know that it's small, but you have to start somewhere. And just like with, investments, over time, it adds up. And I feel like if we start there, I don't know, I think we can see some great things from it.
Okay, thank you. Ken?
Well, there's two things. There's climate change and there's global warming. We have contributed a little bit to the global warming, and the weather does change, but the weather has always changed, and it has changed for thousands of years. In fact, about 100,000 years ago, believe it or not, Greenland was a tropical rainforest. So the temperature goes up, the temperature goes down. We do make an impact, but you can affect climate change locally in the sense that if you take care of your community. If you're walking on the street and you see the trash on the street and there's a garbage can over there, pick it up. You're doing something good for the community. You're keeping things clean, you're keeping things squared away. That's what we can do locally. I did find an interesting statistic about climate change. If we did everything we were supposed to do about climate change to reduce emissions and all that, it would take 4 to 5 decades to halt the rising temperatures and over 100 years for it to actually come back down. And I'm pretty sure everyone except maybe Tyler is going to be long gone by then. So, thanks.
All right, thank you, Ken. Okay, Joe. You're a climate change kind of guy, right?
Of course, we need change.
Climate change. Climate change brings all kinds of weather. 100-year storms, 5 or 6 of them in a week. I think that we definitely need to address this issue. There is some drainage, water issues that definitely need to be addressed. And I'm sure elsewhere in the community that, when you're getting 2-3 inches of rain in 30 minutes, I mean, realistically, nothing can handle that. But what we have currently doesn't handle it, period. So I definitely feel like we need to prepare for those types of things happening, weather-wise. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Okay, back to the beginning. Bob. I didn't forget you this time, Bob.
Thanks.
All right, I hear you.
All right, climate change. Yeah, so we all have already heard about climate change and global warming and what it's doing. I do agree that we should be looking at some type of recycling and not filling our landfills with stuff that shouldn't be going there. Unfortunately, the township had to get rid of our recycling bins a few years ago because of abuse. People were abusing it. One of the things that we could look at doing would be to work with Erie County Solid Waste District and see about getting community-wide garbage collection for Vermilion Township. This was looked at a few years ago, but at that time there weren't enough providers in this area to bid on it. But maybe that's something we can do again, take a look at that. And along with that program, they would include recycling, so all of the residents can have a recycled bin. I think that will help curb any type of abuse that we used to have, and it'll help our environment by recycling instead of it all going to our landfills. The other thing that we need to look at is anytime we do a development, these developments, and whether it's just a new store or it's a big development, they have to provide some type of retention basin, detention basin, which is going to help control that stormwater. And these are things that we as a community and the community leaders have to look at to make sure it's being done properly. The county engineer's office will look at this, and this will greatly help the amount of runoff we get at any one time. But at the same time, you've got to understand, most stormwater infrastructure, maximum design is a 10-year storm, which we greatly exceed frequently now. But it's just not financially feasible to try to put in a system any larger than that. So we have to do this, we have to get creative and think of other ways by detaining that water on site and then slowly releasing it into the system so that we don't cause additional flooding.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, you're up.
Oh, I love this question. Talk about the 5-year or the 100-year storms. We've dealt with that in the last couple of months. We've had some heavy rain. I just had a meeting with county engineers, just last week it was, and I told them in November we have a meeting where everybody gets together, all the townships get together, and we discuss what we did this year, what we're going to do next year. All right, last November, I didn't know anything but what I presented, which was North Cohen Road. All right, I was educated in February that the problem's not North Cohen, we need to use it on South Cohen and also South Cherry. There are issues down there. South Cherry's pipes were those clay tiles, side by side, sandy loam. They've shifted, they've moved, they plugged up. It's not any good. So what I'm talking with the engineers about is having them come out there and give us a couple ideas and suggestions on how to correct this. Personally, we see two things. We can either put a whole new pipe in, or we can put an open ditch where we can, and when you can't, when the lay of the land goes too deep, then we put a pipe in. So I am currently discussing this with the county engineers. Like I said, I had a meeting with them, and that I told them, I'm giving you a heads up in November, this is what I personally am going to put on the table, those 2 roads. That's what we're going to do this coming year. So this is a real good question for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back to the fiscal. Paul, you're up. What is the Ohio Public Records Law? And what are your experiences with that? But remember where these questions. Ohio Public Records Law. And you better be good, because I don't have a...
I don't have any personal experience with the Ohio Public Records Law because I've spent 40 years in the industry.
Okay.
I do have some knowledge of it because I've, just being a student of current events, I've seen people run afoul of it and get in trouble. I do know that all township business is basically a matter of public record and needs to be available to people. So you have to comply with that. I think there's a more important lesson than that, and that's you have to behave as though everything you do is going to become known by everybody. So think about what you do.
Okay.
Do the right thing.
All right, thank you. I can agree with that. Stephanie, you're up. Do you deal with this in some of your audits, Stephanie, or are you not, is this not a part of it? Go ahead.
No, it is very much a part of it.
Okay.
Everything involving the township is public record. So anyone at any time can call or email or whatever and ask for a public record. And it doesn't matter who it is, they don't have to say who they are, they don't have to say what they want it for, it doesn't matter, they can have the public record. Fiscal officers are required to have public records training. I have had several webinars of public record training and in-person public records training. One thing that helps with public records, some records you keep forever and some you don't. One of the issues the township is having is there is no records retention schedule. That's one thing we were trying to find. The There is supposed to be one recorded with the Ohio History Connection, one is supposed to be logged with them, and one apparently has never been logged. So we will need to, another project the township will need to do is create a records retention schedule, so then we have something to go by.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, we're going back to the trustees, and we're starting with Tyler, right? You're up, Tyler.
All right.
There is much development going on State Route 58 and State Route 250. What is your vision? What do you think should happen on Route 60?
Route 60, well, I actually talked with a nice group of ladies before this started, and they were talking about how, yes, you know, it would be nice to see about maybe getting a grant and finding ways to, you know, develop something that has you know, that we'll be able to profit from, or at least that would benefit the local economy. So yeah, definitely finding a way to utilize that. I can't really tell you what specifically like I would put there, but I know definitely for sure that's prime real estate being on Route 60, and I think it would definitely be foolish to pass that opportunity up. So that's definitely something that I'm wanting to do, is take advantage of that.
Okay, very good. Ken, you're up. Route 60, what are your thoughts? And I'm sure you have some.
Oh, I have you. Well, there's four things you need for development: land, labor, money, and entrepreneurship. When you have all four of those, then you can decide what you're going to do next. Until you have all four of those. But folks, Route 60 is fairly well developed, and one of my favorite quotes is, change is the only constant in the universe. And it's true. Everything that's there today might not be there in 20 years, but that's no excuse to have a rush to change everything. Let's take the commercial property we have and develop that for the needs that we have today. Tomorrow, when other things come along, new technologies, there may be a place where a building is no longer useful and we can put something new in that place. There's plenty of open commercial property across from the Firelands car dealership. All we need to do is find somebody that wants to buy it for the price they're asking, and we can continue our corridor of commercial business. And that's all I got. I'm going to get quick.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ken. Joe, you're up. Route 60, go.
Well, Route 60. First thing I'd like to see is the speed limit change from 45 in the township. I'd like to see it stay 35 until you are past Fireland Chevrolet, where it bumps up to 50 miles an hour. We have a lot of people, out-of-towners, that come here quite often. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that. And they stay at 35 miles an hour until they hit Route 2. I mean, there's plenty of 45-mile-an-hour signs there, but they stay at 35. I'm sure you all have tried at some point to merge onto, get out of the gas station, get into the gas station. What an absolute nightmare that is. I sit on Kneisel Road sometimes for 15 minutes in the morning before I can make a right-hand turn. If I'm making a left-hand turn, it may be longer. The amount of traffic that moves in and out of town is grown exponentially. So I really think that that speed limit needs to be cut down. It gives everybody an opportunity, since we don't have a turn lane. So, you know, there's not a side street that enters all the businesses like you see out in Sandusky or whatnot. We use the main thoroughfare. So I think lowering that speed limit to 35 miles an hour and possibly strategically placing a few lights in there somewhere, that way we can all enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, going back down to you, Bob. Route 60, your thoughts?
Route 60. Well, as we touched upon quite a few times this evening, yes, growth is going to come, and it's most likely going to be mainly centered around the Route 60 corridor. Now, this is where we as a township have to plan. We have to make sure we're ready for it. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that we have to deal with, though, is that we have to remember State Route 60 is just that. It is a state route. We are at the mercy of ODOT when it comes to a state route. We can't just go and change things or add stoplights or anything. You've got to work with ODOT on this. I know the township has contacted me many times about needing lights and things. and they come out, they do a traffic study, and they say, nope, it's not warranted. They have their rules, which I think are spelled out in the Ohio Revised Code, on what they can and will do on these roads. So we have to be prepared, we have to protect ourselves, but we have to be willing to work with ODOT to make sure things are done the way we need them done. The other thing is making sure things are zoned properly for what we want to have here. I know that there's a question right now about a proposed residential development, and I know at the last meeting, quite a few of the residents that live near that area were opposed to it. But right now, it's zone C2. They could get a truck stop. They could get a warehouse, a shipping warehouse. There's a lot of things that could go in there without needing an approval. People that buy it, they come in, they submit their building plans, and they're good to go. So this is where we as a township have to make sure we're prepared for what could come. We have no control over what's going to come, but we're at the mercy of what may come.
Thank you, Rob. All right, interesting. All right, next up, Carl.
Okay, about 2 years ago, I requested from ODOT a traffic study for Route 60 because people haven't, as Joe said, I got you, Joe. As Joe said, it's hard to get out, okay? They did their first traffic study in November. And I said, come on, guys. I said, do it in July where we have tourists. We got to do it. They said, and I don't remember, it's been 2 years and my memory's foggy, but they were surprised that it was as high as it was, but it wasn't high enough to warrant a light. Okay, if we get this Redwood situation's going to change. I'm still pushing for them to do another traffic study, and we've got to get a light put in there somewhere to make a break where people can get out. And so, you know, I'm not dropping the ball on this. I passed it, I let it go for 2 years, but we have to get to the point where it goes above with what they agreed that the traffic count is right. I'd like to put one, maybe even at Darrow or down by Route 2, somewhere to break things up, or maybe across from, well, we got one at the high school, maybe a couple 100 yards down or something. Something to break things up, to give you an ability to get out of a side street. And when these other residents come in, if they build this new subdivision, it's going to be more congested. So we need this done. It's got to be done. They can't keep kicking the can down the road. So that's my thought on it. I am going to continue.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thank you. Keith, Route 60.
I'd like to use the word plan, but
Yeah, you beat that one up tonight, but that's okay. You go right ahead.
but hope isn't a plan.
I understand that.
Right. So we can't wishful think. You know, obviously we want to find the right things that fit for our community. So what we need to do is have urban planning. We need to meet with the planners to understand what's going to work in our community. We also need to reach out to other communities, Route 58, Avon, North Ridgeville. They were villages at one point. They've gone through the growing pains. We need to find out what those pains are and make sure that they don't happen to us. Because change will come on us. I can't tell people who they can sell their property to. If it's already zoned, like Bob said, we are at their mercy. We have to take a strong look at how these are zoned and the utilization of that property on Route 60. As far as the traffic study, you're correct. We are at the mercy of the state. It is exactly that, a state. But traffic studies need to be done. And as we increase population, and you're right, Carl, as we increase population and we increase commercial property, those studies will be done. Cut-ins, cut-outs, turning lanes, stoplights, stop signs, but those are done by the state.
For the last question, and my plan is right now, everybody's going to get one more question, and then we're going to take a 5-10 minutes, let everybody do whatever they need to do. When we come back, all that's going to be left is their summation. They're going to come back and talk. They're going to have a couple of minutes to summarize their thoughts, their plans, and everything moving forward. And as soon as that's over with, then the evening is over, okay? And we can stick around. There's no time limit here. Not going to shut the lights off, are we? Oh, yes, I forgot, yes. And we do have some questions that we're going to look at from the audience, okay? Thank you. Thank you. So, but that's the plan. All right, Ken, you're up. Last question. Oh, let's see, where am I at here? Hold on.
Germanville.
Yes, thank you. Okay, what would you do to change or to engage better the county and the state in Vermilion Township?
The way to make better change is to make a better community. If we're attractive to the state and we're attractive, or we're informative to them, let's say. If we don't tell them that we have needs at the county level, if we don't tell them what our needs are at the state level, they'll go to, as the proverbial saying is, the squeaky wheel that they will give the grief of the tax dollars to. We're limited in the amount of tax dollars we get, and there are grants and other opportunities for us, but they're not going to come to us. They're not going to beat down our door and say, hey, we've got free money to give you. We need to go to them. We need to say, hey, we need a traffic light at Kneisel Road. We need to be beating on their doors so that they get sick and tired of knowing us and knowing who we are and what our names are and give us what we need. That's how we make a better relationship. You got to get out there. You can't sit behind a dais or a desk. You got to get out there. You got to earn it. Just like this job, you got to earn it for the whole community, and that's how you solve the problem.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Joe, you're up. What would you do to change or to better engage the Vermilion County, their township with the county and the state?
I think that I would network. I would definitely try to reach out to all of our contacts, people that we have, that the trustees already know, brush up those relationships, keep open lines, and keep them in the information so they understand what our needs truly are, what is happening, and what are our needs. I think that having those lines of communications open will definitely be very well suited for the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Bob, you're up.
Well, to me, it's a pretty obvious answer, and it's already been touched upon. First off, you got to build relationships. You got to build relationships with the county. You got to build relationships with the state. You have to engage them. You have to talk with them. You got to work with them. I've had the pleasure of having been involved in local government for 23 years now, of working closely with many of the county agencies and even the state ODOT for this district. Have very good friends in the county office. The funny thing was that I think our county commissioner has left, but we did have a county commissioner here this evening that I very well appreciate, Mr. Old. Years ago, there was this idea in Erie County that the Erie County line ended at the Huron River because the county commissioners never really paid any attention to any of us any farther east. With Mr. Old and new county commissioners that are in there now, we have seen that change. Commissioner Old's from Berlin Heights, and I think that's helped. But we have to continue that relationship. We have to continue working with them and networking with them and building our relationship with them so that Erie County doesn't end at the Huron River. There's a big part of it over here. It's probably the best part of the county. Okay. You're up,
I kind of felt that was a trick question because I've been working with the state and the county for 4 years, okay? 6 months into my term, we had one of those storms that we were talking about. It blew out the culvert on Holiday Drive, okay? We were told that that was the township responsibility, the county responsibility, and the state responsibility for that road. I didn't know what was going on. I had 6 months. So the state guy, the other two trustees had things to do. They left me there. I didn't know what to tell him. I didn't know what to do. I was totally clueless. So the state guy gets there, and I'm literally standing, and I'm not trying to be charades or anything, but I'm standing on the culvert that was blown. And I said, who takes care of that ditch? He said, we do, the state. I said, who takes care of that ditch? He said, we do, the state. I said, where am I standing? I mean, come on, where am I standing? And he says, well, what are you trying to get at, Carl? And I said, well, I said, I've been told it's the county, I told it's the township, and I told it's the state. Whose responsibility is this? And he said, well, are you trying to tell me that if we put it in for you, the township will pay for the materials? I said, that works for me. And he said, well, let me go talk to my boss. 20 minutes later, he comes over. He said, we can do it. So I don't understand that question, because we have been working hand in hand with the county. We use their facilities. If we need like a tile out on Cherry Road, they put the county put their jet truck in there, found the blockage. They help us, we help them, state's the same way. So I think it's a trick question.
You're right, we threw that in there just for you, Carl. Yes. Just want to be sure you were listening. All right, thank you. Keith, you're up.
With any business, networking is critical. You know, open lines of conversation, whether it's a state, federal, local level, county level, open lines of communication. We have to understand each of those entities. And I think all of these candidates touched on that. So instead of being redundant, again, as in any business, network, open lines of communication. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, I got one last quick question, and this may be probably a little redundant to when we summarize things for the financial officers, but I think Stephanie, you're up, right? I think it's your turn. What additional value and experiences do you bring to the township not previously mentioned?
Okay, well, I have been a bookkeeper for over 30 years, and part of my bookkeeping has been for my husband's business, and also for other family businesses that have needed help with records and tax paying. Most recently for a $30 million a year wholesaler business. And as opposed to, say, corporate finances, when you own your own business, you have a totally different perspective on how to manage money. And that has helped me, and that has translated very well into government finances. Because when you work for your own, when you run your own business, you are ultimately responsible for every dollar, and you see the big picture. When you are working in government finance, as is the fiscal officer job, you are also responsible for every dollar, and you see the big picture. And so that experience has really helped me in that job.
Okay, thank you. Paul, you're up. Last question, we're going to take a little bit of a break.
I think you got the thing backwards. 'Cause,
I probably did.
Yeah, with the trustee question, I don't think.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
you're good. Go ahead, Paul. The young guys, you gotta watch them.
I know.
Yeah.
Keep on your toes.
In 40 years of financial experience, most of my experience has been corporate, but corporate's pretty important because, you know, Vermilion Township has basically 4,800 shareholders. And corporations are the same way. You're watching out for the money of a bunch of shareholders. You're responsible to all of them. You're not responsible just to your boss or even just to your board. You're responsible to everyone. And so you learn to watch the money in the way that is responsible to everybody. In addition, you know, I've had extensive financial education. I've got a bachelor's degree in mathematics and economics and a master's in business administration from Carnegie Mellon University. And included in all that, I've got the equivalent of a accounting degree. I've had lots of opportunity over those years to see many, many different kinds of problems. And I bring all that experience with me. for free to the township.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to take a little bit of a break. Okay? We're going to expound upon that for 10 minutes. You're still available? I'm now still, okay? We've got Tyler Gunner. I missed him. That's why he was yelling at me. I'm just teasing. But he's going to answer the last question that I didn't get to him, all right? So go ahead, Tyler.
I was wondering why I was so short. I'm like,
Yeah, well, you're the young one, so we try to overlook you.
well, so this was in relations to, it was like basically the township communicating with the county, correct?
County and the state, that's correct. Your memory's not too bad, go ahead.
Well, thank you. So, a little bit about me, I don't know if you know. So, I actually work at Cedar Point, and I've worked there for about 3 years. I've been a supervisor of 4 different departments, and I've been a head lead of another. And the reason why I'm saying this is not to be boastful or prideful, rather to really explain to you that the only way that I believe that I was able to get there was because of understanding the communication network. I can't tell you how many great relationships I have with multiple managers, general managers, and I've even been grateful to befriend the director of resorts, well, a former director. And the reason why I tell you this is because in communications, we actually learn about the communication network and how important it is. If you can understand the communication network, you will basically be unstoppable and you will be able to accomplish so many things. So that's what I find to be very important, is understanding if I have an issue, who specifically do I go to? So we can make this the most efficient process we can. So yeah, that's
Great. Okay, Tyler Williams, Tyler. Okay, I was told earlier at the break that I should be mentioning your first and last name, okay? For those of some do not know who you are, so we're going to do that, all right? And we're going to ask some questions here, right, Dave?
Fiscal officers.
Fiscal officers. Okay. This is a tough one. We'll start down there with...
Paul goes first.
Paul goes first? Okay. How could you save the township money? You got 30 seconds.
Best way to save the township money is just look closely at what you're spending and make sure that you're not spending things that are unnecessary. That said, sometimes it's wiser to spend a couple bucks to avoid spending more money later. Sometimes you see evidence of that process.
Okay. Stephanie, you're up. How can you save the township money? This is Stephanie Johnson.
Well, as your fiscal officer, I have already saved the township money. I have made sure all the current records are in order. I have, due to my due diligence, going over records for workers' comp, I was able to get a $20,000 refund. Also, one way to make the township money is through investments. The township has an investment account through the Treasurer of State called Star Ohio, and they have a very high return rate right now. So recently I have transferred $400,000 into the Star Ohio account, which is now sitting at $1 million, because the return rate is at 5.52 right now, which is really great.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Okay, now this one goes to all the trustees, and we're giving 30 to 45 seconds tops, okay? To all the trustees. What do you feel about cameras in the offices and only 2 trustees have access to the live feeds? I guess that's it. Okay, we're going to start now. Joe, you're up. Obviously, this has been an issue, okay?
The cameras should be on the external of the building or in corridors that you need to be watching doorways. I don't believe they need to be in offices unless there's a safe in there. I certainly don't feel like trustees should have live feed on anyone, period. Unless there's a live feed on them. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Okay. Going back down to you, Bob. Bob Kurtz. And that was Joe Baxter. All right. And now Bob Kurtz. Go ahead, Bob.
If anybody was at our last meeting, I think you already know how I feel about it. I do think cameras serve a purpose. They're for security. If something happens, you can go back and review the footage, or the police department, sheriff's department can do that. But that's where it should end. It should be going to a recording, and that's all. It should not be live streamed. Nobody should be able to sit there and watch the employees or other elected officials live on their phones.
Okay. All right. Carl, you're up. Carl Hill.
Okay, I was one of the original trustees that put the cameras in. They were only there for security. All three trustees had live action. Since Ron Dickel had his incident, Bob Kurtz said he didn't want the live feed. It's only to watch what's going on and keep us safe. If something happens, and trust me, there was an incident that I tried to back up on it, you can't. You got like 1/8 of a tenth of a second, and it takes you to go 5 minutes. It takes forever. So we could not see what happened, all right? But it's there for security reasons only. They're
Okay.
pointed at the doors. So,
Okay. All right. Keith Sexton. Go right ahead. You're welcome. Mr.
Absolutely
Sexton.
no live cameras pointed at one individual. Cameras are essential for our security, especially, in our changing environment that we have. Exterior cameras, perimeter cameras, cameras in the hallway, at the entrance and exit doors, but not on one individual person. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Tyler, you're up. I'm not going to miss you this time. Tyler Davis.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I mean, kind of bouncing off of what Robert said, I mean, cameras do serve their purpose, okay? When you're talking about working with finances, I mean, you can't really play around with that kind of stuff. However, do I think it should be live feed? No. But it does serve its purpose, and it's for the protection of course, the township finances. But I do think that we need to put regulations on like, as far as the, I don't know if usage would be the right word, but
Okay.
essentially we need to set boundaries is where I'm getting at.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good. Thank you. Ken Baum.
I get the last word.
Yes, you do.
On day one, if I'm elected, I'm gonna make sure I got about $100 in my pocket because I'm gonna take a baseball bat to that camera that's in Stephanie's office, pointed at Stephanie.
Okay. All right. We beat that one up. All right. This is for just the new candidates. Okay? New candidates, and you know who you are. So my question is to all new candidates. How many township meetings have you attended in the past year? Joe? Joe Baxter, you're up.
Unfortunately, I've only been able to attend 2 meetings due to my work schedule and having 5 children, and sports keep me busy. But I do keep up to date with all the things that are taking place at the township meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Ken, you're up. You're next. Just do what I tell you.
Every debate,
Ken Baum, yes.
every debate you get a golden question, and this one's mine. For the last 3 years, I have been at every single meeting except one for 3 years. When Ron Dickel was there, I wanted to point out, get off topic a little bit, he reached out to the county when I had a sidewalk issue. Not a trustee job, but he did the job as a trustee and reached out for us for that sidewalk up front. So, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ken. Keith Jackson, you're up.
Well, I haven't quite finished so many meetings as Kenneth has, but I've been to 3. I've been to 3 meetings. I've been into a zoning meeting, but I keep myself informed on the ongoings that happen in the township, as well as the city and the surrounding communities, because all of those things affect us. Thank you.
Okay? Tyler, you're up.
All right, so before I answer the question, I thought it was pointed at a safe. I didn't know, like, I was out of date with like the desk. I didn't, so I just wanted to clarify just so people don't think that I'm, pro stock people. But anyways, to answer your question, in the past year, I've attended 6 meetings, and I believe this is like the 8th. No, this is the 10th month, right? Correct, okay, yes. However, in August and September, I wasn't able to attend because in August, I went to go visit my fiance for about a month, and then when I came back, I was admitted to the hospital for a week. So, I was not able to
Those are unacceptable excuses.
I know.
Hospital on your fiance, I don't get it.
But when I am there, though, I mean, you can ask whoever watches. I take notes very aggressively. I'm a huge believer of note taking, and yes, so I do pay attention.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, we're going right back to the trustees again, 30 seconds or so. How do you exercise development when there is a lack of sewers? A lack of sewers. How will you work with the city and to increase, or anyone, to increase that capacity? Okay, we're going to go start down there with Mr. Bob Kurtz. Take a minute to think that one through. Don't throw anything at me.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question.
Okay. There's a lack of sewers. There's an assumption there.
Okay.
Because most businesses, want sewers. They don't want to be bumping into a septic tank. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Well, so
Being a
first off,
city engineer, right? Yes.
the Vermilion Township that actually has public sewer that I'm aware of is State Route 60 out to about American Legion. That's the only area of the township that actually has a public sewer. As far as capacity, we really have no control over that. All of that is paid through Erie County, and it's transferred to the city of Vermilion. I know the city of Vermilion is going through some issues right now with their plant. They're under some orders to upgrade it, and we are going to, as a township trustee, as a board, one of my goals here at our next meeting is to pass a letter of support for the city of Vermilion to seek grant opportunities to help pay for their wastewater plant.
Okay. All right, thank you, Bob. Okay. Charlie, you're up. Lack of sewers or thereof, and what are your thoughts on increasing that if possible?
Well, the only answer I have to that is we probably have to get a grant and extend them. That's way out of my, but I would do a grant and try to get the money to extend the sewers down the main corridor and then branch off. Years ago, they were trying to get Columbia Gas to go down there so we could get natural gas instead of propane. A lot of from what I understood, a lot of the farmers didn't want to pay for their fields for the gas to cross that because they had to pay a certain amount per foot. So that's kind of a, redheaded stepchild.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I really don't have a good answer for that.
Okay, all right. But most businesses or businesses moving in may want that, they're gonna want that, so I get it. Go ahead. Keith Sexton.
You're correct, but that's back to the network. We have to work with our municipalities that surround us and understand their shortcomings. We have to, if we're going to tap into their system, we have to understand that they are sufficient with the sewage. And if they don't, we have to help, work with grants, work with our city to increase that capacity. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tyler, you're up.
All right, so I'll be completely transparent with you. I am not like completely competent in like the whole sewage thing, but one question that I actually want to ask for Robert, you mentioned something about Erie County, right? So you said that those are the people who are in charge of sewage, correct? Okay, so that being said, I think the first step would be to get in touch with the representatives of Erie County who specializes in that area and really getting together and forming a strategy on how we can go about this, underlying issue that seems to be, getting worse. So.
Okay, all right. Ken, you're up.
Sewerage is just one facet. It's about infrastructure. It's about building everything we need, whether it's a traffic light over at Kneisel on 60, a bigger, better sewer running down 60, or anything else that helps our community grow and be bigger. So, to steal a little bit from a movie that probably most of you have seen, Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. If you want to keep our township just the way it is, we don't have to put that much into sewers and keep our township the way it is. But I do think maybe we should just build a little bit. Build for sustainable growth. Build for the things we need, not just tomorrow, but 2 or 3 years down the road. And let the 20-year from now problems be the problems of the guys that are going to be looking for this office 10 years from now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And Laughlin. Joe Baxter, come on up.
Sanitary sewers. I definitely feel like we need them in the commercial application. As far as a homeowner, I spent a lot of money on my septic system and it works just fine. And I don't want to be assessed, just like I don't feel like the people of the township want to be assessed. It's obviously a conversation that can be had at some point, but until we have an actual plan in place, we don't know what sewer we're even going to do. So I think we have a lot of steps that need to be covered before we actually get to that part. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Joe Baxter. Okay, this one goes, the last few questions are going to be candidate specific. Okay, we're going to try to do this. And the first one's for Paul. Okay, you've been a member of the township for a while, but you've only been to a couple meetings. Are you computer literate? And are you aware of the issues that are going on within the community, within the township?
Since we moved back into the area, I've been to 4 meetings.
Okay.
Yes, I'm computer literate. I'm fully familiar with Microsoft Word, Excel, and I've worked with a number of different financial systems, SAP, QAD, and some more alphabet soup that I won't bore you with, plus Ford had their own custom system. Had to learn a new financial system everywhere I went. It won't be a problem. The issues of the township, yeah, I'm pretty familiar with them. Most of them center around growth, but there are quite a lot of them that center around individual problems or local problems with ditches on a certain road, drainage in a certain area, maintenance of certain properties. And those need to be attended to as well. We haven't spent a lot of time discussing them tonight, but they come up at every meeting, and you have to be aware of what's going on and attentive to the needs of the citizens.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the last specific one, then I got a general one, then we're going to go ahead and let everybody summarize and finish up for the evening. Bob Kurtz, last one for you. You were a busy man, okay? You were a busy man. How can you serve township when you were a building official for 6 other counties and an assistant fire chief? You're bouncing a lot of balls there, Commander.
Sure am.
Go ahead.
What that tells me is that I can get the job done. You know, if I couldn't handle that, I wouldn't be the building official for 6 counties, or it's only 5 counties, I'm sorry. 5 counties. I wouldn't be the assistant fire chief, but I have the ability to do it. It's called multitask, and it's called, you do what you got to do to help your community. The building official is my job. Okay, some of the people here may be retired. Most of us work. and we work all day. We work full-time jobs. Some have families. I have the luxury, at least all my kids have grown, moved out of the house, have graduated college, and have their own careers. So it's just my lovely wife and I at home now. But that's my job. 8 hours a day. After 8 hours, it's my time. It's my time to devote to Vermilion Township. If somebody needs to get hold of me, I got a phone call. I got email. They can text me. I'm always available.
Sounds good, thank you, Bob. Bob Kurtz. Okay, last question is for all the trustees. You got about 30 seconds, then we're gonna start right down, we're gonna summarize, and then we'll let people just hang around for a little bit. And we want to thank everyone for coming out once again. We hope this has been informative for everyone, and I hope you've got something out of it. Okay, for all the trustees, and we're gonna start right down, we're gonna start here with Mr. Baxter, all right? Are you for or against a full-time fire department? If you want to think about that before you answer, you may.
No, I am for a full-time fire department. I feel like one of our biggest assets that we have in this community is our firemen. If there's anything that's taken place that was done right prior to tonight, our fire department. Those guys are amazing. My hat is off to them, and they will always, I will always have their back, always.
Okay, thank you, Joe Baxter. Okay, go ahead, back down there. Go ahead, go on down there, Ken. Let's work down the opposite direction.
I didn't want to look over either on this.
You're good, go ahead.
I got to agree with Joe. We've got a great fire department. Back in February, I stood up at a township meeting and I explained how much we spend and how much the city spends and other townships. We get a great deal for what we're spending. 30% of our tax revenues that come in come from the fire levy. We have the money. We should build a bigger, better fire department. But before I come up with a plan or any other trustees come up with a plan, we'd better sit down with Chief Trina, because when it comes to the best, we've got the best. And I think he would be the one to answer how we should grow this department. And I do agree that at 4 in the morning when your wife or your kid is laying on the floor and you're waiting for an ambulance, you don't want it to wait to come from far away. You want to know that that fire department and that ambulance is going to be there as quick as they can, and you don't care how much money it costs.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And I tend to agree with Frank Triana and his crew, do an outstanding job. Tyler, you're up.
So absolutely 100%. Actually, one of the things that I've noticed when attending these meetings ever since February is how undervalued and underappreciated the fire department really is. And I feel like that they don't receive the attention that they deserve. And honestly, I'm all for having a full-time, opening up a few full-time positions. Because as Bogman said, when there's a fire that's happening, you don't want to bet on someone waking up, having to put their clothes on, and wasting time just to go to the scene. So I think having someone there at the ready is definitely something we should look into.
So I agree with all the other three candidates. Safety is paramount. It's the one thing that we can provide our township citizens. I know that there's a cost that incurs with that, but you're right. When your safety and it's you or loved one's life is on the line, we have adequate service or above adequate service to help protect that and to save your life. So if we take away from that and you're the person that life is on the line, do you care what it costs? No.
No.
Thanks.
Keith Sexton, thank you. Carl, you're up.
Okay, I'm kind of divided on this for the simple fact, does Vermilion Fire Department, are they full-time or are they part-time? Or no?
Hell if I know.
I really don't know.
Am I supposed to?
I
asked the question.
I was told that Vermilion cannot afford a full-time fire department. So if that's the case, a full-time fire department. We've got a volunteer fire department that's working really well. But if Vermilion City cannot afford a full-time fire department, how can the township afford it? That's my question.
Candy, could you answer that? Do they have a full-time fire
No, they
department?
do not.
Part-time.
It's part-time.
Part-time, okay. All right, I
Well,
got you.
then that's my
Okay.
answer.
Okay. All right, your point's well taken. Bob Kurtz, come on up.
Really?
Really? The fire chief, this is the fire chief. No nepotism here.
Yeah, so I may be a little bit biased. Of course, I think that a full-time fire department is a great thing for Vermilion Township. It's a great thing for any community. Of course, you got to be able to justify it, which the fire department would need to do. I mean, we average 700 runs a year, which is unbelievable for a township of our size. You got to have the funding for it. If you can justify it, you got the funding to cover it, absolutely, it's a great thing. And I will say, and I may be a bit biased, but Vermilion Township Fire Department is one of the finest departments in this area. And I'm not just saying that because of who I am. I know the other departments. We work with other departments. I work closely with a lot of the other fire chiefs through my building official job. And I know, without a doubt, Vermilion Township Fire Department is one of the finest departments in this area.
Thank you, Bob. Okay. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. We're going to let everyone summarize their thoughts. You got 2 minutes. Start down there with Stephanie.
I am the one that volunteered to serve the township when it was in need. I am the one that has taken on the monumental task of combing through a room full of records that are not in compliance. I am the one that has spent months poring over the finances, the records, and the software, making corrections along the way. I am the one that has spent countless hours reading and researching, taking webinars, workshops, and seminars, also learning from the best person to learn from, a 26-year veteran fiscal officer who is very credentialed, very knowledgeable, and highly respected. I have taken more continuing education hours than are required because I want to learn and I want to do the job right. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have and where they are from. This is government finances. It's a completely different world. The fiscal officer works under the guidance and direction of the Ohio Auditor of State, the Ohio Attorney General, and the Erie County Auditor. But I work for the people of the township, for you, the taxpayers. I am the one that's following the rules and the law, and I am the one that's making everyone else follow the rules and the law, and I will continue to do so. I am a public servant, and I am here to serve you. Please vote for me.
Thank you, Stephanie. Bob Kurtz, come on up, Bob.
Thank you, Cliff. What Vermilion Township needs right now is knowledgeable, experienced leadership. That's what I bring. I know the laws and procedures the trustees are expected to follow, and we will follow them. I don't have a hidden agenda. I'm just about doing the right thing. Do the right thing for Vermilion Township and do the right thing for the township residents. I ask for your vote of confidence on November 7th, and let's bring professionalism to Vermilion Township and have a local government that you can all be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
So I will.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Obviously,
You got 2 minutes.
I got you. Been married for 34 years to my wonderful wife, Julie, both lifelong residents and Vermilion High alumni. Together we raised our 2 sons in this community. They still thank us to this day for the opportunity to grow up in such a wonderful place. Longtime business owner of Erie TV and Appliance. I work with private equity groups and investment groups with experience in construction, budgeting, and property management. I have no personal agenda. My driving force is to run for township trustee and give back to the community that supported my family for decades. As a candidate, I look forward to demonstrating my leadership skills in an ever-changing environment. My background in business management and working with public and the construction budgeting make me the best candidate for Vermilion Township. We need to change the narrative, folks. We need to change the narrative of our conversations in the township, not who's suing the township, micromanaging, and who's watching who. As a unified community, our conversations and concerns must focus on our roads, ditches, stormwater management, and our current infrastructure. The Board of Trustees must listen and understand our current concerns and changes that are headed our way in the form of new development. We have to have a plan in place on how these changes can take place without eroding the very essence that makes Vermilion Township a unique place to live. This will require your trust and confidence in me that I have the Vermilion Township's best interest at hand. On November 7th, let's get it done. Vote Keith Sexton.
Okay, thank you, Keith Sexton. Tyler Reyes, you're up.
So, just 1 second. So, one thing that I really want to bring to the township, and I'm hoping that, if I were to get elected, is I'm really wanting to bring optimism and an ambition to learn. All right, I'm young, I'm 24 years old, however, this is the face of the next generation. And I want to give this term everything that I have so I can best, basically, nervous towards the end of the night. But anyways, basically, I want the best for this township. I want to bring it back to we the people, if I'm going to just shoot it straight with you. I mean, I really do. One of the things that got me involved in this is I didn't really care for the way that this country's heading towards, heading in. And I feel like that we the people, our voices are being taken away. So that's what I'm really wanting to bring. If you guys choose to elect me, I promise I will try my very darn hardest to do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler Reyes. Dan Bach.
A lot of folks say I got a big mouth, and I want to be a little bit different. I want to get out from behind the table. I am on this card. What you read on this card is who I really am. These are not just campaign slogans. I'm a 7-year veteran of the United States Army. I served as a military policeman. In Erie County, as an Erie County Commissioner's appointee, I was a trustee for the Erie County Mental Health and Recovery Board, which covered Erie and Ottawa counties. That's 8 years experience as a trustee on a 17-member board where they voted me chairman twice. Not once, but twice. I'd still be on that board, but they have term limits in that particular position. And I am very proud of the work I did there. On my card it says I will not make any promises and I will not tell any lies. And if I break that, I'll resign. I'm not going to give you any promises. I'm going to tell you I'm going to do my best. Sometimes I'm going to give you all answers that you're not going to like. But those answers are going to be based on what the law is. And that's what I can do for you. We don't go against the law. We don't sue because we don't agree with something. We sue because we believe. And on my card it says I believe in the Constitution. And I believe in the Constitution wholeheartedly. And in 1984, when I joined the Army, I took an oath to support, defend, and assist the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, even if we're in the same room. That's why that lawsuit's out there. If you want questions, come ask me. I'll tell you everything I can. My lawyer said, say no comment. And I said, you know what? I can't do that. I have to be honest. I have to be upfront. I have to show the people who I am. And I may not be the prettiest girl at the dance, but I still got the moves. Thank you.
Okay. So did you say something about term limits? Don't get us all excited here, Ken. All right.